It was 15 years ago tonight, on a night just like this, when it sounded like Parvati saying, "You know what, Jeff? I think it would be downright depressing to sit and watch green bananas turn yellow without my debaucherous little villains." And that's when Parvati played two idols in a most historic night of Survivor Heroes versus Villains, April 22nd, 2010. And we are here to talk about it 15 years greater with Josh Wigler. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. Parvati Shallow, famous for having excellent banana etiquette.
Mm-hmm. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Crushed it.
And here we are in a very special episode of our Heroes versus Villains 15-year rewatch, one that we are giving away for free. We're not waiting for this one to ripen. We're giving it straight to you, nice and green.
We had two feeds, right? So we may as well use them both. We've got the patron feed for the RHAP patrons, and we've got the main feed for everybody else. Why not use the both of them to increase our odds of people finding out about you and I every single week talking about Survivor Heroes versus Villains 15 years later in the patron feed for RHAP's patrons?
Yeah, it's been so nice to get to do this, to go back in time 15 years ago to the season that really created RHAP, as we are sort of like on the precipice of another big Survivor anniversary. So the timing felt like that this was the right project to do. And here we are at maybe the highest high that we have here in perhaps in Survivor, but certainly in Survivor Heroes versus Villains.
Yeah, for a very long time, at the very least, I think that this was considered the height of the show. I'll be very interested to have that conversation with you now, 15 years after the fact. I think it's going to be a really fun conversation today. How many people do you think are looking at this podcast and hearing this news that you and I have been recapping Heroes versus Villains 15 years later for the past 10 weeks or so now? Are they, you got some explaining to do? And then we look at them and we say, secrets. I got my secrets.
Yeah. So I think that maybe people knew that we were doing it, but hopefully that people are getting a chance to check it out here by putting this one out on main, as they say. So here we are, get a little bit of a sense of what we're doing, because we haven't really been doing just a straight recap. We've sort of been looking back at what happened 15 years ago and sort of like giving additional context, certainly from when we recorded the Evolution of Strategy, which was, believe it or not, 10 years ago.
Every time you say it, I think I get just a day closer to death. Literally, I mean, I think that's probably just true. But I just, like, in my heart, I age like 10 extra years.
Yeah. Josh, coming up this fall, okay? Listen to this.
I'm so nervous about what you're going to say. I'm so worried.
It will be 10 years from Survivor Second Chances. There will have been as much time from when we did the Evolution of Strategy to Second Chances. From actually, it's even longer because we started a year ago, from when Survivor started to Heroes versus Villains.
That's wild. That's so wild.
Actually, even longer because they took a year off for COVID, right?
They did.
I'm getting confused.
They took a year off for COVID, but it'll be
part out of the podcast. All the Kalish math.
It'll be 10 years since I first went out on location, which feels crazy to me as well.
Yeah.
So lots of historic events here as Survivor celebrates its 25th year, as Heroes versus Villains celebrates its 15th. The Evolution of Strategy celebrates its 10th. What is this the 5-year anniversary of? Anything fun?
Anything from 2020? Not a
What's
ton.
Happening spring 2020?
Not a ton. Kind of a down year.
Yeah.
5 years since Winners at War.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Positive spin. We got it. That's why that's why they pay you the big bucks. Yeah, Rob.
All right. Yeah. Well, we are so glad you're here. If you're here for the first time, and you want to come along for the ride, check out everything that we have going on over robhasawebsite.com/patron and become a part of this great reality TV community. People connecting around the world around these crazy shows and looking back at 15 years back to heroes versus villains. And where we left off was the previous episode was all about JT's big blunder. And
Yes.
the show really presented it as such coming out of last week's episode.
Including in the preview leading up to it, Jeff Probst's like, next week on Survivor, this frickin' guy. That's like basically the trailer's like, this idiot. Look what this guy's gonna do. And then it's just cutting to JT going, I'm gonna give Russ my idol. And so like there's no tension going from that trailer to the next episode of like, yeah, he's gonna do that, and that's gonna be bad. This episode this episode's the punchline, I think. Like that's the setup. This episode's the punchline. This episode gives us JT performing or I think suffering the consequences of one of the biggest own goals in reality TV history, let alone Survivor history.
Yeah. And so there's so much intrigue coming into this where we have this merge where I have so many questions for in the real time about this, where there's classic scenario. It's the final 10. We merge with 5 heroes and 5 villains, and JT has given Russell the idol. And I think that there's just so much hopium going on from JT's part that, of course, he can't even consider the fact that maybe what he thought was going to happen is not actually happening. Because Sandra comes in and says, Rupert, you gotta believe me. I'm telling you, don't listen to Russell. He didn't. And Rupert, for like a little bit, is like, wow, is that possible? Like, could Russell be lying? But everybody's like, get out of town, Rupert.
It is an awful look for the heroes that the one who's like, I don't know, I think this might be a big mistake, is Rupert. Rupert is the brains of the operation at this moment in time. Everybody else thinks we're good, we're clear, but Rupert, he smells something fishy.
Yes, and not like when Sandra dumped out the bucket from, and that was actually after Rupert got voted off.
Sort of like that, though.
Similar to that. And it's just so interesting that, Rupert and Sandra have this great relationship where they have played in Survivor Pearl Islands, and Sandra comes and says, hey, you can't trust Russell. Yeah. He's a liar. And they're still like, but what if he's not?
But But at this point, even if he is, which he is, what are you going to do about it? You gave him the thing. JT can't like go back up to him and be like, I was really sorry. I thought that you were a good guy, and I thought that maybe you were at the bottom of the line, so I gave you the idol. But I just found out from Rupert that Sandra told him that you're actually the head of the bad girls of the bad guys alliance. So could you actually?
Yeah,
give
that's
him
a fair point. Yeah,
it's done. You did it.
They already did the thing.
You did the thing. You know, like you stole the car. You took it on the highway. You can't return it to the owner and say, actually, can you not like get me in trouble for this? Like, you're going to prison. You're going to jail.
Yeah.
At least for a few nights. So I think JT, he broke, he did it. He did the thing. It's already done. There's nothing. What else is there to do?
Should the heroes have voted out Russell?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think that that's the move here because Sandra is saying, I'll do it. I'll vote with you guys. Like if we could get rid of Russell, let's go.
Yeah.
At multiple points in this merge, she's going to offer that up. But here, if they take her up on it, so what? Then they are the 6 that they need. It's done. Are they just afraid that Russell is going to use that idol? I guess like that makes sense. But if they're able to just
they think Russell already used the idol. They think that Russell used the idol at the previous tribal council,
but not at the point that like, well, I guess like still at the point where Rupert is saying like, I don't know, I kind of think he's a bad dude. That they're still kind of like, buying into it. But in the world where they're voting out Russell, do they not think that like he still has the idol and he's duped him?
Well, I think that it would really come down to them believing Sandra. And I think that what we don't ever really get clearly in the episode is that did Sandra kind of do like a half measure? She goes to Rupert and she has that one scene with Rupert. She's like, hey, nobody can see if I'm talking to you, but don't believe Russell. He's a liar. He's with the women. And Rupert is like, oh, if she's saying what I think she's saying, that's not good. But later on in the episode, you have that great confessional when Sandra says, when I first got here, I tried to tell Rupert that Russell is running this whole show. And anyway, we talked really, really quick, and that was it. I don't want my big mouth to get me in trouble. I still want Russell out bad, but right now, I'm stuck with Russell.
I'm stuck with Russell.
I'm stuck with Russell. This is
Yeah.
gravitas from Sandra there. So I don't know if she
I'm
was
stuck
like
with Russell
pounding the
is
table.
the name of a horror movie, by the way. Like that is
knock, knock. I'm here.
the hands that rocks the cradle.
Mhm.
Well, listen, we cannot possibly be about to embark on the discourse of should Sandra have done more here, right? Like,
No, I'm just
it works
saying,
out
like,
totally fine for Sandra.
it does work out totally fine for Sandra. I guess that I'm trying to give the hero some grace. Ultimately, it's not so much that I am like condemning Sandra for how she played this.
Yeah.
That my question, and because in that, if Sandra like does like a full flip against the villains, maybe Parvati doesn't play the idol on her. Like maybe Parvati is like, you know what, Sandra, you want to be with the hero so bad, fine. That she doesn't get an idol played on her in that spot. But
No,
it's
that's
interesting.
So,
it's interesting.
So let's play this out in the world where, like, if Sandra really, really wants to get Russell out here and she's like, but I'm too scared. I'm too afraid to do this. Rob, by the way, have you watched the first episode of season 2 of The Rehearsal yet?
No.
The Nathan Fielder HBO
Was it good?
docu-series comedy. Yes, he is like a wretchedly cracked individual. Like an actual like comedic genius and the supervillain is Nathan Fielder. And it seems like the premise of the season this season is that he's exploring why plane crashes tend to occur. Like what is the thing that is the most chiefly responsible ingredient for plane crashes?
I have some theories.
His thesis seems to be because oftentimes the co-pilot who doesn't have enough power or thinks they don't have enough power doesn't speak up against the captain because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble. They're afraid they're going to get yelled at.
This. I believe that I think it's in one of the Malcolm Gladwell books that they say that that's an issue, and I forget it was like which country really made it so that everybody had the authority to speak up. Is that referenced?
That sounds right. And if that sounds intriguing to you, The Rehearsal is all about it. It doesn't turn into a plane crash for Sandra. It turns into a plane crash for the heroes here. But if Sandra just speaks up and takes control of the flight, the levers and the wheel thingies and the stuff that you use to fly a plane that all still looks like it's just the 1970s. How does it still look like that here in 2025? If she just takes control of the thing, maybe she saves the plane, which is the heroes packed into this little jet. But instead, she doesn't speak up. Heroes crash and burn. She ends up walking away from the fire, $1 million richer. So she's got nothing to regret. But if instead of just having this casual conversation with Rupert, and she instead, as they're all feasting on ham and dried
Not
fruits,
even ham, like a pig's head.
it was wild that was in a box in the hot sun.
It doesn't seem safe.
Wait for these guys to show up with a key so that like hot ham.
Do you think that we had takes on the pig's head in a box?
Had to. Check the receipts. We had to have that ham. Felt like seeing an old friend. Seeing the ham on the screen again felt nostalgic for me. So we must have talked about the ham. But if over slices of ham, Rob, if she says,
Parvati's first confessional on Survivor is that kosher? Assuredly, that was not.
That was not kosher. That was not kosher. Ethan Zahn would not have been able to eat it, according to Big Tom. if Sandra says, everyone, I got an announcement to make. Russell, he's the bad guy. And she just blows it up right there.
Yeah.
What happens? Are we
I
just
think
not there in Survivor history? Is that just not where we're at?
I just think it might be a 9-0 vote for Sandra at that tribal council. I guess my question is, did Sandra walk it back to Rupert at any point? Like, was Rupert like pursuing this, and did they walk it back, or did Sandra just like sort of like make herself small after that moment where she was like, you know what, I'm doing too much here. I'm just going to let them do what they're going to do. They'll see, and I'll have a chance at a different point to go against Russell.
Yeah. I
think it's more that.
The way that she describes it, it sounds like she said the thing, she walked the thing, like not that she walked the thing back, but that she didn't feel like safe saying it again.
And the heroes feel like, okay, well, we've sort of like Russell-proofed this. We're just not going to tell Russell who we're ultimately going to vote for. We're going to give him a different name, and then we'll see if Russell votes with us or if Russell ends up, doing his own thing. Then we'll know everything we need to know about Russell. So I think
that's what will solve it. Let's give Russell a fake name. That'll smoke him out. That'll be all we need to do in order to mitigate.
Because they don't realize he still has that idol. That they think that they do believe that story that he tells them, which is, you can, like, I see all these people play Blood on the Clock Tower. Like, his mechanics, and I know we've talked about this, that him and Parvati both played an idol at the same time. And then he says him and Parvati did not vote on the revote. And we saw in Survivor Second Chances that they actually would vote on the revote, which we did not know at the time that we recorded the Evolution of Strategy, such how the events would happen.
Do we think that Survivor knew that that's what they would do either? Could they have even envisioned such a scenario at this point?
Perhaps not.
Perhaps not.
Yeah. And then Russell claimed that then all of the other women voted together. They couldn't vote for Russell. They couldn't vote for Parvati. They voted out Courtney in that scenario. And that's how Courtney got voted out.
Yeah. Yeah. So hook, line, and sinker from the heroes, especially from JT, who repeatedly through this episode, I believe he says the phrase "not a chance in the world" twice. When he's like, "Do I believe that Russell could secretly be the head of this alliance? Not a chance in the world. Like, no way, absolutely not."
Yeah. He has the one confessional that's particularly damning where he's like laughing about Rupert, and he says that there's a reason I've been doing Rupert's strategical play for him thus far, because he needs to be told how to vote by someone he can really trust, and let that be done.
That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah. Rupert, do you believe what Sandra told you, or do you believe the obvious truth? Come on,
the obvious
Rupert.
Truth. The obvious truth.
Wake up and smell the coffee, my guy.
That Russell is on our side is the obvious truth.
Yeah. He says, do I believe it? No, but not a chance in the world. But you never know. Like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, not a chance.
Not a chance in the world, but you never know.
But you never know. I think you got to say like tiniest chance in the world, and then you could say, but you never know. But if you're like, you can't go both ways. The door doesn't push and pull in this scenario.
Yeah. But Rupert is, though, he really finds himself in these episodes. And we've seen it almost in every single episode. He loves to do the confessional of the contrarian. Like, everybody's thinking one way, and Rupert will love to give you the confessional of like, everybody says this. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. You know, like down to like when they wanted to vote out James. He's like, James is loyal.
Colby is not.
Yeah. So whatever is the consensus, like Rupert will like always give you like that, doubting Thomas sort of like,
He doubted Thomas. He helped vote him out, Thomas Westman.
Yeah, and JT Thomas.
Is Rupert like is this like the most annoying kind of person? Like the person who's like no solutions being offered. None. Zero. Just like everybody thinks this, but I don't know. All right, Rupert, then what would you do? Where's your plan?
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, Rupert's never really led an alliance in his career on Survivor. Like, he's really just always been kind of a number. Like, he's like an outspoken number, like a
What was it like?
mascot at times.
Can you refresh my memory of what it was like on the Drake? What were the dynamics on the Drake?
So I feel like that early Drake was really like, famously, like Burton is sort of like with Sean Cohen sort of like by his side, or sort of, it was like
What was
Burton
Sean
and
Cohen, Jebediah
Kovat, according to Johnny Fairplay, and Michelle. Like it was sort of like
Jebediah Kovac in 10 years.
But it was sort of like that. It was presented, oh, this was high school, and they were sort of bullying Rupert, and he was the one who was like, they're all being like that, and I'm just a little kid that they're being mean to and getting picked on. And then, but he befriended, Sandra and Krista, and then they kind of had their own thing. Then they want to throw a challenge. He's like, that's a terrible idea. I would never throw a challenge.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the other tribe. Then he completely like helps build up the Morgan tribe also.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then he comes back, and then Johnny Fairplay has the plan to vote for him. And then he comes back and he's mad who voted for him.
Yeah, who voted for me?
Mm-hmm. But right, and then he's like trying to like broker like a peace treaty with Andrew Savage, I think, after the merge.
Yeah, so he's just never quite been good at it.
Yes.
Survivor.
He's never quite had like his group of people that he is able to like inflict his will upon.
Yep.
At best, people tell him what to do, and he goes along with the plan.
What is our interest level in Rupert 5.0?
Rupert 5.0 for 50.
For Survivor 5.0.
Yeah, that was a name that I felt like that was a little bit floated like conceptually, but it's not a name that I've seen a lot of smoke around in terms of a Rupert,
Well, you're not going to see Rupert's like social media activity being particularly weird.
Like
he's locked out of his account.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't get on.
I don't even think I've seen too many rumors about Rupert return.
Rupers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a lot of talk about Rupert. Let's shift the conversation to some of these other people in this episode, because this really is Parvati Shallow's big, spectacular play. And this episode, Rob, is a roller coaster for Parvati Shallow. Highs and lows here in this episode.
Certainly. And she
persona non grata to the lady of the hour.
Right. Going Down in Flames is a quote from Parvati. She talks about how the Heroes tribe is going to be going down in flames once she goes over there. They don't know yet. They're going to get picked off one by one. And so she has the idol from the last episode. And, maybe this is Parvati's finest hour across her Survivor playing and reality TV career. It does, at first, seem as though she's not fitting in this new merge tribe, that she does seem to be sort of like taking herself out of things.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like twofold, where it's a good social read from her that she does feel like she's not welcome. I don't know if she necessarily plays it correctly in terms of she kind of doesn't do anything to change it, but at the same time, that it all works out in her plan of that. I think that, I don't know from Parvati how much of this was all predetermined of, okay, well, I'm not feeling, and like, I think that she's a more instinctual player than she is somebody who's like seeing the chessboard and like, thinking moves ahead. And she isn't feeling like she is being received well. She seems to kind of voluntarily separate from the group. And then because of that, it sort of like perpetuates the fact that, she's feeling like she is going to ultimately get the votes. But she does not know yet at this point that she is going to get that second idol from Russell. She doesn't know what the immunity challenge is going to be. So it's hard for me to think that she had this all cooked up prior to the next couple of days events.
So I guess a question that I'll ask is, so reset the cover story. So Russell is going to tell Colby and JT and Rupert about the night before and why Parvati is still around. And his story is that he and Parvati stand up at the same time, both play their idols, and that everyone had voted for Parvati.
No, everybody voted for Russell, and Russell's one vote was for Parvati.
Got it. Okay. So I was going to say, like, like, is she coming in, like, trying to, like, pretend like she's on the outs with her fellow villains?
Or, I mean, perhaps it could just be as simple as that she has an idol, and maybe she's feeling like, hey, everybody's voting for me tonight, and this is going to be...
Let me draw the heat.
Yeah, I'm going to ultimately not try to ingratiate myself to the heroes, and that I know that I'm going to get the majority of the votes, and so I'll play my idol, and then that's how we're going to get the numbers. But so I do think that she probably was thinking that.
But I also feel like when she's like, nobody likes me, everybody hates me, better go eat some worms. Like, the truth is that it's like Colby and Rupert and JT are probably the ones who are frosting her out, right? She's going to have pleasant interactions with Amanda until she clocks Amanda.
And Candace was her old white person tribe. Friend.
These white people stick together, right? So
Come
like
on.
Parv and Candace, they've got it. So like she has history.
On, Parvati, Candace, do it for the white people.
Do not say white power in Jonathan Penner voice right now. Do not do it. Don't do it.
That's our old tribe.
Don't do that.
Where's Flicka?
Don't do it. Gosh, Flicka, forgot about her. So like she's just out with like these three nasty boys, like these three nasty boys of Stinky Rupert, slowly deflating Colby, and lovesick JT, right? Like in love with Russell. So is it really that bad out there? I don't know. Like, there's also this whole thing about like, you guys are coming into our house and you're not wearing shoes and like you're eating our nanners. Like, the heroes are very those three guys are very protective of their stuff. Here at Heroes Beach.
And Parvati, I think, really excels at that. People fall in love with Parvati, and I don't mean like literally, but they fall under her spell. And then once they're under her spell, she really knows what to do with those people. But I do think that in her reality TV career, if there is going to be like Parvati, I think one of the things that is a struggle for her, if the people are resistant to her spell, I feel like that she does have a hard time of winning that person over who is not under the gravitational pull of her charm.
Right. That's like how Chris O'Donnell resists Poison Ivy in Batman and Robin. Rubber lips are immune to your poison.
Yes. Yeah.
These boys are wearing rubber lips.
Yeah. Now, in this instance, like Parvati has two little green men in her pocket that are going to ultimately save the day for her. But
there's like the little aliens, right?
Yes, they're like the claw. Yeah. But Parvati really, I'm trying to think of the time in her career where she's able to, flip people against to go the other way.
I don't remember Traders well enough to know what that was like for her. Is there anything where like she's able to like turn opinion on her?
I mean, Eric Reichenbach gives up the necklace, but I'm not sure necessarily like he. I guess that's kind of in that category.
Sort of, but we've relitigated that, and I think like her role in that is not like that's really big. Like
it's an ensemble.
It's a multi-pronged move. Like we can't just like lay that totally for Parvati any more than you could totally lay it for Suri or any of them. So yeah, I'm trying to think. Someone's listening to this being like, "You idiots!"
Yeah, and maybe
person.
Either way, Parvati, the things that she does great, she is maybe the best ever at.
Yes.
And so we can't nitpick some of the things that she's not as great at. That's not her game. And
No.
so she ultimately is going to feel kind of left out. Boy, these heroes get in such a snooty mood over they're eating
Snooty
breakfast.
booties.
And Parvati goes to eat a bit, and they have like literally 100 bananas.
They have it feels like they have like an infinite supply of bananas. Like, frankly, I don't remember how we felt revisiting this once upon a time, but James is like, I didn't realize there was such a thing as banana etiquette, guys. Like, I didn't think this was a big thing.
Well,
and
banana etiquette, Josh, was like, hey, Josh, you're going to get a banana. Why don't you ask me if I would like a banana too? That's banana etiquette.
Right.
This is a totally different thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you guys have a healthy supply of bananas. I think people could just eat them. It looks like you could probably just eat them. Has anyone ever screen capped and counted how many bananas the heroes had at this moment in time?
Easily over 50.
Yeah.
And to quote Danielle, when the bananas are brought up at tribal council, she says she wanted to have one from the plethora amount that we have.
Yeah, they have a plethora amount.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Survivor has a plethora amount of seasons at this point.
Yeah, that's what El Guapo says.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that's from?
Nope.
It's from the Three Amigos.
Oh.
Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with the Three Amigos, but I think I probably only saw it once when I was a boy.
Yes. That the bad guy is El Guapo, and I forget. He's asked a question of, and he asked like, "Would you say that I have a plethora of?" I forget what the thing is.
I am Mandela affecting so hard right now. We had this. We talked about, didn't we?
Yeah.
This feels like we did this.
So I probably in the.
This feels like we must have had a plethora amount of conversations about this exact thing.
Yeah. El Guapo. That he said. Yes. That Jefe tells him he has a plethora of piñatas. And El Guapo asks for a definition. He doesn't understand the word.
What's the definition he receives? Does he get one?
I don't know, but here's what Danielle says.
I don't think we should be penalized for wanting to cook a plantain, considering the plethora amount that we have.
Yeah, the plethora amount.
Yeah. For those of you just joining us in the Patron feed, check out the plethora amount of Patron podcasts that we have waiting for you right here at robbinswebsite.com/patron.
Let me tell you who understands the assignment, folks. That would be Robert K. Cesternino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A plethora amount of podcasts under his belt. He knows the score.
Okay. Well, all right. So I want to go to the immunity challenge, and this is one that perfect timing. And we get to our immunity challenge, and it happens to be the challenge we've been talking about quite a bit this week. Get a grip. Which is a challenge that we saw featured but 6 days ago on Survivor 48, where Jeff Probst called it perhaps Survivor's most iconic challenge.
Do you agree with that? That this is Survivor's most iconic challenge?
I do not agree with that.
Yeah. Is it a Mount Rushmore challenge?
I don't think it's top 4.
Is it top 10?
I think that it's probably somewhere between 10 and 15.
Okay. What is the Mount Rushmore of Survivor challenges?
I mean, I think that I've talked about this a lot on some of the other podcasts, but I believe that some of the Mount Rushmore of Survivor challenges are challenges that they often don't do anymore. And I think that the most iconic Survivor challenge is Hands on a Hard Idol.
Yes, Hands on a Hard Idol is the answer for sure. Auction?
Is the auction a challenge? I think it's more of a reward. I wouldn't say that the auction is necessarily a challenge.
Yeah. I think I would. Blindfolds?
Blindfold challenge? I think this is better than blindfold challenge.
Yeah. It's great. It's always good TV. Always looks real difficult.
Yes, but Jeff is on one in this because
he hates these people. Rob.
He does
hates
not
this
care
cast.
for this. He does not like that people are stepping down from the challenge. And maybe that speaks to what we see now in modern day Survivor with this challenge, where they've made it like impossibly hard so that people cannot actually do it. And I think he prefers that to people stepping down because, first off, Sandra and Colby are the first people to step down.
Giggling like little kids, right? It's like giggling like a bunch of like little 3-year-olds who are like discovering speech for the first time and are saying like duty at each other. It's like Colby and Sandra hop down. They're like, "You ready? All three. 1, 2, 3, duty." And then they hop down. And Jeff's like, "What are you kids doing? You seriously doing this? Hopping down right now?" Colby.
Really? Donaldson, you're out already? It's like, yeah, this wasn't my thing. Wasn't feeling it.
Duty is power. Colby is not.
Yeah. Jeff even rakes Colby over the coals in his EW blog that he wrote. He said, once again,
For those
Colby.
just tuning in, we love to check back in on Jeff's EW blog.
Yeah, so Jeff blogged during the season. He said, once again, Colby drops out of another challenge. I think he's been one of the biggest surprises, and many would probably say one of the biggest disappointments of the season.
Yeah. Which one, Jeff? Which one might say?
Yeah.
Who's the one?
Yeah. And so the immunity challenge comes down to Parvati and Danielle. And so Danielle knows Parvati as the idol, is like, hey, let me take this one.
And then Parvati says, all right, sure.
She
But
steps down.
They don't even put on a performance about this. There's no no illusions. Just Parvati gets off the pole.
Yeah.
And Danielle. Is this the behavior of a captain of sports?
I don't know. I think
Danielle
they're really
Lorenzo saying, Parvati, could you let me win? Could you? Could you just let me
She's
win?
the lady in waiting also. But also Parvati, we know, has just in Survivor Micronesia. She is also, this is the challenge, I believe, when Ozzy gets voted out. Is that when Ozzy, or is that when Ozzy gets voted out, or when
Siska?
Prince Siska gets voted out?
I don't remember how I got voted out. It's too traumatic, and I can't go back to that time in my life. 10 years ago, you spoke about this, and you don't even recall.
Yeah.
Francisca.
So, right? Is this did they do that in or was that the hand over the head? Am I
I have no way of telling you this.
No, I guess they did not do this in Micronesia. I guess this is because so much had been made about Parvati and the footholds here. You see Parvati in a very unusual stance, but I think that a lot of people may be Mandela effect that Parvati won this challenge, and this is her only time competing in it.
I absolutely, in my heart of hearts, believed watching this episode that she was going to win this challenge.
Yeah,
and she didn't.
She does not win this challenge.
I think of her as winning this one.
I think she could have, but ultimately Danielle wins this challenge. And so that sets up that Danielle is immune. And so we have like these great 2 scenes in this episode where Amanda and Parvati talk. And so this is so much fun to go back and revisit, where Amanda first tells Parvati that, I wish there was some way we could work together.
Yeah. It's like, you got your idol, right? Play it. Play it on yourself. You're in danger. And Parvati says, girl, you serious? I played with Amanda. She's lying. And I'm not going to get played.
Yeah.
She won't do it. She's not going to play that game. Do you like their secret handshake?
Was that a throwback to Micronesia?
I don't recall. I mean, I thought that
I remember them doing like stir the pot.
That's what I remember of the secret handshake. But here they say, all right, secret handshake. And what they do is they do sort of like a high five and then like a boom and pow. And I feel like that's kind of just handshakes.
Yeah. It's kind of giving a little Michael Scott to me.
Yeah. This is definitely not a new era handshake.
No, it's not.
Definitely not.
So Parvati in the first conversation with Amanda is like, Parvati is trying to open up to Amanda. Amanda's like, I wish there was some way that we could work together, but I don't know. I don't think there's anything there.
Simply cannot. Just
Mhm.
not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so Parvati's radar go ding 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 ding. Liar, liar.
Yeah. So she's definitely reading
Off on fire.
Amanda as inauthentic here. But then after Parvati steps down from the challenge, that does a lot of things for Parvati. And so it really works out in Parvati's favor to some degree, where when she steps down, everybody's like, I didn't like how Parvati stepped down. I think that maybe she does have an idol.
Yeah.
And then ultimately that they're saying, like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't put the votes on to Parvati.
Right. And so in doing that, she allows for the probability that she's not going to receive the votes, that the idol really ought to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in this sequence of events, okay, Parvati, based off of the order that we see it, okay, so after the challenge, then Sandra realizes she's stuck with Russell. Russell is going to give the idol to Parvati.
Yeah. How often do you think Russell replays that in his head today?
I don't think that Russell
15 years later.
revisits mistakes like that.
Well, probably not verbally, but does he non-verbally return to those mistakes?
I don't think that Russell thinks about things he did wrong. Like, I just don't think that he does not do that kind of like self-reflection.
Introspection.
I think Russell would say, I played a perfect game.
Yeah.
I did everything right.
Can we do it on his behalf? Because maybe he should, we're laughing at JT giving an idol away. Russell gives his idol away. And
why does Russell? Oh, because I guess he feels like, okay, well, I need to keep my cover, but he's already not writing down the name that the heroes. Well, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that they're testing him. So,
right, but he's not gonna do it anyway.
He's not gonna do it anyway. So I don't know why. Kind of a half measure from Russell.
He's giving her the thing. Like, he's giving her the move. Like, here's the move. You've got the idol. You're gonna get to play it. Like, Russell is all about pizzazz. Like, this is an opportunity for Russell to stand up and be like, heroes, in another world, it could have worked out. JT, thanks for the guillotine. Snap. And then like he plays it. And JT goes.
That they vote for Jerry. I think that Parvati plays the first idol on Sandra.
Yeah.
So if she does play the idol on Sandra, if Russell hypothetically plays the idol on Parvati, Jerry still gets 5 votes.
Oh yeah, no
tiebreaker
for sure. I think that this all plays incredibly differently if Russell holds on to the idol. I don't think that Parvati plays an idol on somebody. I think Parvati gets protected by Russell, and like.
Russell might go home in that scenario because so in that scenario, that Jerry, if it's a deadlock tie, okay, and then 5-5, and then we have our revote, and it comes back 5-5 again. Now,
well, actually, no, I think are we talking it through?
I'll talk it through. So I think that
is that what's happening in Survivor at this point?
No, I think that they have to either vote for Jerry or for JT again. Yeah. Okay. And then so I think we have our deadlock, right? I don't think that like somebody's flipping in that scenario. I mean, maybe Sandra is like, hey, I'm not drawing a rock. But Sandra's already had an idol played on her, so what does she care? So she would be the most likely person to flip. But then I think it ultimately would go to rocks in that scenario where everybody would draw rocks except for JT. And then so 4 heroes would draw rocks. And the only villain that would draw rocks then would be Russell.
Yeah, but those are decent odds for Russell.
Odds for Russell.
He'll play that game. He'll take that hand. He'll take that bet.
Probably an 80% chance that one of the heroes goes home in that spot. But
yeah.
Definitely would have been a weird season 20 Tribal Council.
Yeah, I think that's what we would be saying about it. Is like, that was weird as opposed to that was something else.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. And so Parvati has a great moment, and she has like this self-realization, a great confessional that she has. She says, Russell just gave me his immunity idol, so that makes me safe tonight. And I have my own immunity idol, so that makes me safe for the rest of the game. So at this point, she's not even talking about like what she's going to do. So I have 2 little green men protecting me. And apparently everyone else in this game is like desperate to get rid of me. And they said I'm the most dangerous player out here. So I don't know. I guess they're right.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that they were right until right now. Now I really think they're right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice moment when you realize that you've got all of that power within you. Like, it's you. It was always you, Parvati. This is like her chosen one moment.
And Amanda says to her, like, hey, definitely play the idol tonight.
Yeah.
It's definitely on the damn ground,
I was just, you scumbag, you stepped on my joke.
Sorry.
I hope you get bit by a crocodile. Damn scumbag.
Yeah.
How many times have we said damn over the course of the last 10 years, followed by preceded by chicken?
So many.
Yeah. Damn.
But Parvati realizes that Amanda's saying, play her out just in case. Just in case. And Amanda's like, oh, my head hurts.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Not the best acting of
it's no Blue Crush 2.
Yeah.
Is that right now?
Is that her big thing? Blue Crush 2, BC2?
Yeah.
What else has she been in?
A lot of Survivor
commercials.
I don't know if she's done a lot of commercials.
Wasn't she like in some sort of like jeans campaign?
Jeans campaign?
Wasn't she like
she was recently like in a bridal catalog?
I thought there was like something about jeans. I don't know why I
keep jeans.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Thinking she was in jeans. But I don't know. Maybe not. I can't really recall.
Yeah.
I don't think that Amanda trying to snow Parvati is really like the thing. And also like, what is Amanda like? Amanda and everybody else like on the Heroes Tribe, weren't they kind of like starting to get a little annoyed with each other? Was sort of the discourse about like those previous 9 days.
Yeah.
Should she have just done the obvious thing and be like, you know what, Parv? Let's just do it again. Let's run it back and like actually do that.
Yeah, I think that this is like one of those great unsolved mysteries of, I think that there was like some wedge between Parvati and Amanda going into Heroes vs. Villains where they were not necessarily on the same page.
Got it. Okay.
So I feel like that Amanda had been replaced with Danielle DiLorenzo.
Yeah, new girlfriend meme with Danielle.
Right.
Yeah.
So the storyline of the bananas is, we mentioned it a little bit, but it is just such a funny backdrop to this episode. That this is from Rupert and everybody complaining about Parvati and Danielle eating all the bananas.
They're greedy ass, eating ass, pain in the ass tribe.
They're a greedy ass, eating ass, pain in the ass tribe.
Excuse me, what are they eating?
They're greedy ass, eating ass, pain in the ass tribe.
Wow. Hell yeah. I'm not gonna kink shame. Yo, Heroes versus Villains is wild. I hope they weren't eating Russell's ass. Because he's got to wash that in the ocean first.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, no, sorry. You know what? No kink shaming. I don't know. You're a greedy ass.
Eating ass, pain in the ass.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah. And
wow.
At Tribal Council, they go, they get into the full on. We mentioned that Danielle with the plethora amount.
It's the ripe bananas. We have ripe bananas all the time, but we let them ripen.
We let them ripen.
We have ripe bananas all the time.
You know what's so great about this? I think, like, let's see if we can follow this line. Let's say we let James eat all the bananas. Okay?
Okay.
James eats all the bananas and none of the ass, just the bananas. So the bananas go down. We lose them. All the bananas are eaten. We get to the merge. Bananas aren't really an issue anymore. Is Rupert able to focus up? Wake up, Rupert. Are you able to convince these people that Russell's the bad guy? Is he off his game, the only person with the correct information on the Heroes Tribe, because he's just seeing red?
He's seeing yellow.
Yeah, he's just seeing yellow. all he can see is ripe yellow banana. If they had just let James eat them and the nanners are no longer a thing, what happens?
He can't help it. He can't help it. He's all in on the bananas.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's always a banana that gets us.
Yeah. Josh, do you remember your first reaction to seeing this? Do you remember the real time of this moment of like, were you...
No,
Did
not
you feel
anymore.
like that you thought you knew what was coming?
No, I have no real memories of it anymore. I have some indelible Survivor memories from like watching the show, but this is not one of them anymore. If it was once upon a time.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, I don't really remember where I was watching it. And I do remember that in the real time, that same week that this episode aired, April 22nd of 2010, Nicole and I went to dinner with Parvati and James and Jenna and Ethan. And I think that and maybe Shane Powers might have made an appearance also that night. Yes.
At your house?
Not at my house. We went to I believe the Geisha House owned by then Mike Boogie.
Okay.
And we had a dinner there. I think it was like the first time that Jenna Maraska and Parvati had met.
This was the first for them. And then did you all watch the show? The program?
No, this was like Friday. This was the show was on like Thursday, and maybe so it might have been I guess it was maybe the next day.
Okay, yeah. And so do you not? That sounds like a pretty legendary dinner to not remember the details of.
I remember the details of the dinner more than the details of watching the episode.
Yeah. Can you tell us any of the Terry deets of the dinner, or should that stay in the past?
Yeah, I just feel like it was a nice time. I had not seen Jenna and Ethan in a minute.
In a while, yeah.
Yeah, so it was nice to see them in person, out and about. And James was a lot of fun. And I remember asking Parvati, like, how did you know? How did you know to do it?
Yeah.
She's like, I knew Amanda, and that was it. That was she knew what to do.
Yeah. You were friends with Parv at this point?
Not really. I don't think I had ever really had a one-on-one. I think I had, I don't even know if she knew who I was.
Yeah. If you ever get the chance to speak with her again on the podcast, Rob, can you ask her what her memories of the Geisha House are?
Mm-hmm. I mean, in general or on this night?
I guess in general, but specifically on this night is really what I'm after.
Mm-hmm. What are you looking for?
What was it like with her? Like sitting with Shane Powers? Like
Shane Powers met us at the bar at like later on.
Fly on the wall to be at the Geisha House 15 years ago with Parvati and Shane. Like just fascinating.
Again, Shane was not at the Geisha House. He was. He met us at the bar.
I'm really trying to locate him at the Geisha House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well,
why didn't he get the invite to dinner?
I don't know. They called him later.
Okay.
I was not connected with all these people at that point in time.
Yeah. So what were you feeling? You were like, wow, look at all these people. No, because you were still like, you were just getting back in. You were just reignited.
Jenna and Ethan were coming into Los Angeles. And so that I was, had been in.
More focused on your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that Ethan had it was the first time Ethan had cancer. I think this was also like sort of like the first time Ethan was back out and about.
Yeah.
After going through cancer, because I feel like at the 10-year anniversary party, people were like sending like goodwill wishes to Ethan. So I think it was the first one. And then I think then he had a relapse, and then he had to go through cancer again after that. But this was the first time. Yeah. So. In the real time, though, in the podcast, I spoke with Richard Hatch.
Unbelievable.
The day after this episode.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
What did Richard have to say about all?
He was
of this?
not a big fan of Russell Hantz.
There's only room for one RH on Survivor. Are there how many RHs are there on Survivor? Would you guess?
Probably at least there's got to be another one, right?
I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure somebody tells in the in the chat. Yeah.
I'm trying to do some more.
But Richard Hatch, I think, was like in rare form. He was always good on the podcast.
Yes. Yeah. Wellness check. Wellness check on Richard Hatch.
I'd be up for. I mean, he was just on.
Should we float the idea of wellness check on Maine right now?
Could be interesting. Let me see. Let me see if I could pull some of his more interesting thoughts.
So
That he said.
but just to pilot it out real quick. So wellness check is an idea that Rob and I have been tossing around of like just reaching out to some of the people who like, maybe should we have them on the podcast? I don't know. But like, don't we want to reach out to them and just see like, are you good? You okay? What's going on?
Yeah. You want to hear what Richard Hatch had to say about Colby?
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay. Let's see if I can play bring this up. Let's see. I had the same problem as the last time I tried to do this. Okay, let me try it one more time and see if we can get it. I have the whole thing transcribed.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to play my transcription here. Okay. I asked the question, all right, let me ask you, what do you make of Colby this season?
Wow, how about you know, if I, you know, some people read books to go to sleep. Well, I mean, really, what's going on? But I mean, just still not in the game. Now, look, I like Colby. I played with him on the All-Stars, but even on the All-Stars, I sat with him and I talked with him very clearly about what was needed, and he and Kathy, I expressed to them, listen, if you get rid of me, you two are going next. You know,
right.
I realize you've been warned that I'm a threat, but I know how to play the game, and sticking together, I can take you much further than you'll ever. Anyway, he just doesn't have as a good handle on what you need to do to play.
Yeah, as evidenced by this immunity challenge. He didn't have a good foothold either.
Yeah, let's see. All right. Okay. Richard Hatch was not a huge fan of Coach. You want to hear what he had to say about Coach?
Of course. I want to hear what Richard Hatch had to say about Coach.
Okay, let's see. Here's Richard Hatch about Coach. Let's see. This was at okay. Yes. Okay. This is going to start off with that he likes Tyson.
Okay.
Oh, a favorite. You know, I liked Tyson's crass kind of directness.
Yeah.
I really liked that just personally, to watch how he would say what he was thinking about other players. And I think that's a gift that a good player gives to viewers, is to talk to the camera kind of directly and brusquely about the people around them and put it out there. I mean, if they're acting like idiots and morons, say so. You know, not to their faces, but to the camera, so that viewers know what you're thinking. And I loved that about Tyson. I like Rob just as a person, but I thought he was kind of overdone in the game too. I thought he wasn't subtle enough. Coach made me nauseous every moment he was there. So I was glad to see him go. Yeah. I mean, that man, whom I've met in person too, and he actually seemed kind and bright and could carry on a conversation. I don't know what the hell happens to him once he gets on the island, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone dumber in my entire life. I mean, absolutely pathetic to watch what he does in the midst of the game. I mean, do you disagree?
Well, do you?
I think that's a little bit of a hard take on Coach.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anyone dumber in my entire life.
He makes me sick. He made Richard Hatch nauseous.
I don't know why Richard was so hard on Coach.
Wellness check on Richard. Are you still nauseous?
Maybe we could heal the rift between him and Coach.
That's a great iteration of wellness check, where wellness check is also like checking in on relationship statuses, so you can get repeat guests. You know, you could get Boston Rob and Russell, but then you can get Russell and Richard. You could get Richard and Coach. This is gonna be a riveting series. Our highly problematic wellness check podcast on RHAP.
Well, and also this appearance that Richard Hatch did in April of 2010. I mean, I think that he had been recently out of prison. And so this was kind of a big get for me to have on the podcast.
Yeah. But you knew Richard.
I knew him.
You were on the pre-jury trip with him and spent zero time with him.
I spent some time with him, and I got to see a little bit of what he's like outside of the show. But he had then, in 2005 or so, he had gone to jail, and then I think he had just gotten out of prison around this time.
Yeah.
I think actually he tells a story about that. He shares the story from his time when he was away. Let me see if I could play that clip real quick, asking him about that he talked about how he has seen all of the shows.
Wow.
And he never missed an episode, even when he was in prison.
Yeah, I've seen them all. I really do love the game. And people think, oh, well, you were in prison. Well, believe it or not, we have TVs. There are televisions. They're the best babysitters on the planet.
Is Survivor popular in prison?
No, there's a really phenomenal, interesting dynamics that go on there. You have to kind of establish a certain hierarchy, and then you have to have influence over what gets put on the television. And I was able to get it done. I mean, it's a whole other game of Survivor.
I was just going to say that.
More interesting ones. But, we would have these aluminum benches in this big room, and there would be 6 televisions hanging from the ceiling, and so you get one that you would get committed to have Survivor on it, and you'd hear people screaming about all the sports games on, and you're trying to hear your show. I mean, it was really not, the ideal place, but I have seen all episodes.
Yeah, might be easier to hear than some of these watch parties that are out there, but
you think that people would have an easier time watching an episode of Survivor and understanding it in prison than at a live show?
I
thought we were trying to sell our product today.
I'm not talking about the RHAP live show.
Okay.
There's like every city in America has all these watch parties.
Yeah. Come join the Patreon. You can get early access to our live shows. It's not as good as watching Survivor in jail, but almost.
Yeah. All right. Josh, anything else that you want to say about this hour of iconic television?
Have we given enough flowers to Parvati for the move? Have we talked enough about Once Upon a Time at the very least, Rob? This is talked about as like the best move in Survivor. Is it still?
Is it still the best move in Survivor history?
I am not qualified to weigh in. I have to ask you, what do you think?
So this is a huge move. I think that there are some, and this is what we always used to talk about. And I think we talk about, like, was this the dumbest move in the Survivor history? Also, JT giving the idol to Russell. Right. I think that the challenge is, do you make this move and do you win the game because you make this move? Parvati had a lot of different ways that she could have played this. Parvati does not even go on to win this season. So I think that sort of like docks points for me in terms of this was not even a game-winning move for Parvati. It's maybe a game-winning move for Sandra in terms of, but she doesn't even end up getting votes. So this is certainly a dazzling move, and perhaps the most ambitious and dazzling move that had ever been attempted to this time. But I think I would struggle to call it the biggest move, and we have to also define what is a move. Like, I feel like that Tony getting Woo to take him to the final 2 to me is probably the biggest move. I mean, Richard Hatch had a similar moment in Survivor Borneo, where he gets Kelly Wigglesworth to take him when he steps down from the iconic Hands on a Hard Idol. Yep. So I feel like that either of those things are bigger moves in that I do this thing and I win the game, or if I don't pull this off, I lose the game.
Yeah.
That's sort of like but in terms of like the most spectacular, I feel like there's a different modifier that we need to use here of like this like spectacular thing that nobody had thought of doing before that Parvati is able to do to, great accolade. It's really the crowning moment. I mean, maybe her winning in Micronesia, but I feel like that this is even above that. If you were going to make the all-time greatest Parvati moments list, let me see if anybody's made that.
The all-time greatest Parvati moves?
Yeah, let me just see. Okay, greatest moves in Survivor history. Let me just see what the conventional wisdom is, and then see if there's a Parvati's
I
greatest
mean, I wrote
moves.
a very dated version of this in
Very
2014,
dated. Okay.
so I hope that's not the top result.
Yeah. Let's see. The Screen Rant from 2021, best strategic moves ever on Survivor, but I'm not sure this one isn't really ranked.
It's just like a gaggle.
Yeah.
You
How
know
about
what, though? This is good content for us. We should do this. We should figure this out. We should have I think it's time to decide what's the best move in Survivor history.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting to try to figure out. I think there's a lot of debate on that, because there are a lot of great moves, but were they game-winning moves?
Right.
And does a move need to be game-winning for it to be the greatest?
Yeah.
And you have this with, I know you're not a football guy,
Sure.
but in terms of if you were going to do the 25 greatest plays in NFL history, that there are sort of these amazing regular season moments, but then probably, that these great moments come from things that won a playoff game, like the immaculate reception or the David Tyree helmet catch, where these things that they were huge plays that happened in the biggest moment. Now, this is this is heroes versus villains. So this is kind of in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
But it's not in a winning effort by Parvati.
No. But is it the most dazzling?
It really, I think, through 20 seasons, is, just truly spectacular.
Yeah. Would love to hear the takes from the peeps. It is really great to revisit, and seeing the heroes realize what's happening is really tasty. JT, for all the jokes you could make at his expense through all of this, he's a really good sport on his way out the door. Good move to Russell, shakes his hand. He's humble about it in his final words. Though then he goes on to say, never trust a villain and never trust women. You can never trust women. It's JT.
My thing started the next episode, so I did not get the never
no,
trust
JT,
women.
no. Yeah, JT Thomas does not believe women.
What are you going to do?
Not
Okay.
good. Not
All
good.
right. Josh, what's coming up for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, we're having
By the way, if you enjoyed this and you want to hear more of this nonsense, drop us at website.com/patron. There's a ton of great stuff. I've never heard, and nobody's ever told me to my face, I deeply regret becoming a patron. I've never heard that.
No. To your face.
To my face. I've never heard it to my face. I've never even heard it implied.
I've never heard it anecdotally at all. All I've heard is, oh my gosh, my life changed. I became a patron of RHAP.
Yeah. And maybe people are like, well, I'm not really keeping up with Survivor anymore. Okay. So that, I get it. But nobody's ever that was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
To become a patron.
I've never heard it. What I've heard instead is you know what happened to me? I became a patron of RHAP, and I made so many friends. I got to talk about my favorite shows with so many people. I got access to exclusive podcasts such as the 5 for 5, where Rob and Nicole talk with each other like it's the classic 15 years ago Survivor, but with fewer phone buttons getting pushed in the audio. Much better audio than we had back then. I've heard people say, I became a patron of RHAP, and becoming a patron of RHAP made watching all of those international reality shows so much easier.
It was very easy.
So much easier. I've heard recently that I became a patron of RHAP, and I got an incredible new podcast feed that collects all of the greatest post-season interviews Rob has conducted with the various Survivor players.
Yeah, we have just put together a brand new playlist to make it so easy for everybody who wants to listen to old Survivor interviews from post-game interviews that I've done. We've put together, I think it's 90 some odd Survivor post-game interviews that I've done over the years.
It's a big, beautiful playlist. It's
Yeah.
a plethora amount.
A plethora
of post-game
amount.
interviews.
Yes.
Yeah.
And nobody said I became a patron and it was
Big mistake. You shouldn't have done that.
nobody became a patron and said
Never. No. Never. So become one. Become one today. You become a patron of RHAP. You get like early access to info. Like if you were a patron of RHAP, you might get like early info on like the Wandoff is coming back for one night only for Survivor 48.
the one night only Survivor 48 Wandoff.
You know, we're telling you all that now here on Maine for free. But if you're a patron, you get info like that all the time.
Yep. Okay.
All the
right.
time.
So that's what you get when you become a patron. Josh, what's coming up for you?
What's coming up for me is I'm about to sign up to become a patron of RHAP by going to robhasawebsite.com/patron.
All right. There you go. Anything else?
I'm very excited about what we just discussed and what we just watched. And I'm very, very eagerly awaiting the further fall of the heroes
But not the autumn.
Autumn can wait.
Mhm.
It's like really nice out now.
Yeah.
It's like in the 70s today.
Nice.
Nice.
Things are heating up 15 years ago and now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We got a great interview with Kelly Wentworth, also from Monday Night Club Condo. Plenty of stuff when I'll be back with Stephen Fishback after the episode on Wednesday night. Thank you so much for checking out our episode looking back at one of Survivor's most iconic nights. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.